Hello, my dear friends. My name is Igor Pogodin, and in today's video, we're going to talk about how to deal with emotions and feelings. Specifically, when emotions fill your life and it feels like there's nowhere to hide from them. When you find yourself in situations where your emotions are tangled into a single knot, when you want to get rid of an emotion and you just start shouting, getting angry, making accusations against your partners, and from the intensity of your emotions, even without being able to identify them, you start to get confused and have a destructive impact on your relationships. You yourself start to feel bad because of it. And we will talk about how to deal with this. Most importantly, how can you diagnose yourself in order to understand where you should go next? So let's get started, my friends. Surely you've encountered situations in life where you have a lot of emotions, but you don't know what they're called, or when you just feel bad. You call it getting crushed, getting twisted, getting wired. Or what other slang can we use for this? Or you just say, I feel really bad. Sometimes people say, I'm depressed. Someone might say, I'm experiencing emotional burnout, or I'm very close to it. In any case, emotions and feelings start to seem like something beyond our control, like something that constantly itches, interferes with life, and accordingly, it's unclear how to deal with it or how to survive with it. Moreover, we begin to get seriously ill against this background. You've probably also noticed that during rather difficult periods in life, emotionally challenging ones, many chronic illnesses start to flare up. And you probably never even thought, that these illnesses actually appeared because you ignored or somehow mishandled your emotions. And in this video, I will be talking about how you can actually help yourself in this difficult, challenging, and rather confusing area of life. It's something many people struggle with. So how do people usually manage and cope with their feelings and emotions, especially during times like these, when everything can feel overwhelming and uncertain? I'll start talking, and as you watch this video, try to diagnose for yourself which of these stages or methods you are currently at, because where you go next will depend on this. In a sense, you can trace the stages. As I go on explaining, you can consider certain stages in the development of your feelings and emotions, so you can see what the next step is that you need to take. So the very first way is related to the fact that your sensitivity is not very well developed. But you see that your life is going downhill, that your life is going off the rails, but at the same time, you have no emotional response to it. You might be on the verge of divorce with your husband or wife and feel nothing inside. Other people say unpleasant things to you. You understand that this is wrong. You might feel a desire to change things or not be in that situation, but you don't actually feel what's happening to you. In the end, people are taking advantage of you, as everyone around you says, but you have no emotional reaction to it. I would call this method ignoring. Most often, it leads to people burning out and becoming exhausted. Quite often, this kind of ignoring is typical as a consequence of trauma, of chronic trauma, of post-traumatic stress disorder. Because in order not to feel pain, in other words, at some point you apparently encountered very strong emotions, and to avoid feeling them, you simply blocked your sensitivity. Well, sometimes people say a person has become thick-skinned, but you can be very intellectual, rational, and at the same time not feel like a thick-skinned person. Nevertheless, there are still not many emotions in your life. People around you complain about you, and you feel that you want more variety and more color in your life. Or maybe you think that everything is fine with you, but from time to time you feel a certain, apathy. Some kind of depressive or sub-depressive state, insomnia. Your appetite seems to get worse, and you start getting seriously ill. Viral diseases, allergies, skin diseases, That's it. Or you start suffering from gastrointestinal problems. This method, as I already mentioned, I call ignoring us, if emotions simply don't exist in your life. But why does this cause major problem? Because in reality, emotions are simply named life energy. It still exists. But if you don't name it, meaning you don't recognize it, and that means you simply can't deal with it in any adequate way. And now this on the energy of your feelings, which you simply ignore in your life, starts to do its destructive work. You understand, right? And that's a big problem. This approach leads to apathy. So this is a problem with sensitivity. But as things progress, for example, you start to notice that something is wrong. You don't know yet what exactly is wrong, but you already sense that something about the situation you were in isn't right. And then a challenge arises. That is, your sensitivity gradually begins to recover and a challenge emerges for your awareness. The question arises, what exactly is wrong? For example, you're dissatisfied with your relationships with other people and want to change something about them, but you don't know what, and you don't know what it is you want to change. The most important thing is how you relate to this. Of course, when you interact with other people, you have many needs that arise, but you don't know what they are. Because you're not aware of them, you don't even make that effort for yourself. Awareness. And then you are faced with the challenge of becoming aware of what is happening to you. Awareness, in a sense, differs from sensitivity in that now you need to name what is happening to you. This is the second challenge we face. Yes, you already realize that you're feeling shaken up, wired, and now you're paying attention to this energy. Not all of this energy is spent on creating your illnesses and problems in life, but you can name it. Excellent. Sometimes it reaches such an extreme degree that you can't differentiate your emotions at all. In psychology, in psychotherapy, there's a special term for this, and in clinical psychology as well, it's called alexithymia. You've probably heard of it when a person is unable to recognize and name the feelings they encounter. Not just feelings, but any other emotional or sub-emotional reactions as well. For example, needs and desires. No worries. You simply recognize this challenge and understand where you need to grow right now. Awareness can be developed. To do this, it makes sense ideally, of course, to go to individual psychotherapy, but even better, group therapy. Why? Because it's in groups that other people and the topics they bring up from their own lives will resonate with you. Just by their presence, their behavior, and of course the stories they share in the group, they will strike a chord with you. They will evoke feelings in you, and a need will arise. How do you name that? And a group is a very good place where you can find a name for what's happening and learn to differentiate, to distinguish, for example, rage from anger, tenderness from love, asthma from orgasm, and so on. And the best way is to join one of these groups. To do this, follow the link in the description of this video and register for our program. Or simply leave an application and our staff will tell you about the groups we have and how exactly these groups in your particular situation can change your life. So you are faced with first the dilemma of awareness, and ask yourself the question, what am I noticing right now? What do I notice in my bodily reactions? Do I notice that my fists are clenched? Do I notice that my vocal cords are tense? Do I notice that I have started breathing very shallowly? Do I notice that I am blushing and my cheekbones are moving and it even feels like my muscles here already hurt? What happens then, you ask? And suddenly you notice that you are angry. If you explore this further, you will feel that you want to hit someone. You start to imagine yourself attacking your counterpart or, I don't know, maybe a whole set of life situations. And in your anger, you rush to change something in your life. So you start to feel, oh, I'm getting really angry. Then when you begin to realize, how would I like to change the situation? This is all about awareness. And you notice, yes, I would like this person to stop crossing my boundaries, to move further away. What am I willing to do about it? You say, you see what I mean, right? All of this is called awareness. But right now, your awareness is already starting to develop. That's very good news. But you still haven't gained any more freedom of choice. And as long as you don't have more freedom of choice, you're still really struggling. And if at the first stage we talked about, you tend to ignore things with all the consequences that follow, then at this stage, you'll be inclined to act things out. What does acting out mean? There's a special term for IT psychotherapists use it a lot, acting out externally, taking actions outwardly. So if your awareness isn't developed enough yet, what will you do? The tension that arises, which you still can name, it hasn't started talking to you yet. So you don't know which direction you want to move in. You'll end up replacing it with actions. For example, instead of feeling hurt, you'll constantly talk about your grievances with other people. And as a result, a crisis will start to build up in your family relationships, or say your relationships with colleagues. Instead of recognizing your envy and consequently your own desires and important needs, you'll end up spreading nasty rumors and gossip about other people. Or you'll devalue what those people have just so you don't have to feel what's happening inside you. You see what I mean, right? And instead of feeling anger, you make cutting remarks or show irritation. You be sarcastic and sharp with others. And of course, those interactions won't go well. All of this is what we call acting out. It's when, instead of being aware of what's happening to you, you start taking action. But let's say you've already developed your awareness, and now you face a third challenge, freedom of choice. At this third stage, your awareness is already strong, but your freedom of choice is still lacking. I call this stage reacting. So what exactly is reacting? You already know and you already feel and can describe what is happening to you. But at this point, you're not yet actually communicating with your feeling. Not just yet. You're simply experiencing it, just letting it be there without expressing it outwardly. It doesn't tell you anything. You're simply angry and want to do something with that anger. From here comes the key question that I most often hear from my subscribers. Igor, when you feel anger, should you talk about it? And if you feel tenderness, should you talk about that? Igor, you said that constantly expressing gratitude is a bad thing. So what should I do with gratitude? Maybe I should say something about it? In reality, the question isn't whether you say it or not. Because if you only have the choice to say it or not say it, then you'll end up using the method I mentioned earlier, reacting. What is reacting? Reacting is when you simply tell another person, when you do this, I get angry. That's already not bad. You're not acting out, you're not engaging in self-harm. You're not ruining the connection, you're not being sarcastic or caustic, you're not devaluing the relationship, and you're not doing nasty things to others just to deal with your anger, for example. But you can simply say right now, I'm angry with you. As a rule, this kind of situation is already progress. That's already great. Here, you become much healthier. You stop suffering in many ways, but your relationships don't actually get any better because of it. There's no progress, no development. You yourself aren't changing or growing. Why? Because thanks to acting out sorry, reacting, you're only releasing the tension that's arising in you at the moment. You see what I mean, right? Or if you feel hurt, you can say, I'm hurt, or you hurt me. Of course, there's a difference between these phrases as well. I'm hurt carries more responsibility, whereas you hurt me carries none at all. That's why you hurt me is a much more childish phrase with far fewer resources for growth compared to I'm hurt. Because when you say I'm hurt, at least you have a direction to work with. Okay, what am I hurt about? After all, I'm the one who got hurt. It's not that someone hurt me, it's that I took offense. I have the choice to take offense or not. Because in reality, you could have experienced a different feeling, regret, sadness, anger, or some other emotion. Any of them could have actually arisen. But you chose to take offense. Of course, you didn't consciously choose it happened out of necessity. So when you say 3 took offense, you start to wonder, what exactly did I take offense at? How else could I have behaved? How do I feel about myself at the moment when I took offense at this person? Who am I in this interaction? And who are they? You now have an opportunity for growth. But in any case, as long as you keep telling others I'm offended and don't put in any further effort yourself, you'll remain stuck in that place. What will happen to you? You'll feel a bit better. By expressing your anger, by talking about your hurt, you will feel some relief, but the relationship itself won't progress. If you stay in such a relationship for 6 months, a year, or 2 years, I assure you the crisis in the relationship will become so intense that you won't be able to ignore it, and it's unlikely you'll be able to resolve this crisis because you're not growing. Expressing your feelings doesn't give you the opportunity to grow, but at least you're no longer suffering, and that's something positive as well. And don't do nasty things to other people, like in the second stage. Don't get sick, like in the first stage. Don't do nasty things to others or destroy relationships, like in the second stage, but you're also not developing them in any way, so conflicts will still accumulate. Is that clear? Or, for example, with gratitude. I was talking about so-called negative feelings, but what about positive feelings? You see, this division into good and bad feelings is absurd. How does it work with gratitude? At this stage, you say thank you, instead of actually being in a state of gratitude, embodying gratitude, experiencing it, being immersed in it, and enjoying it, which could change your attitude. No, here you just bring a little gift or say thank you. Surely you've noticed, right, that when you truly feel gratitude in your heart, you want to do something for another person. And when you do something, the tension eases. Until you actually do something, even though it's gratitude and a pleasant feeling, it still feels a bit uncomfortable. But once you've thanked the other person, you feel some relief. That's why when you simply react, all you get is a reduction in tension, and even that is only temporary. The best way, I remember at some point in Kyiv, in Podil, an office opened up a place called Shandarashka. Perhaps many of you have been there. The essence of this service is that you come in, go down to a basement room lined with metal and very high quality soundproofing. They give you special clothing so you don't get hurt, special protective goggles, and a pile of dishes. You get sets of dishes in your hands, and you can imagine that, well, your boss is standing next to you, shout, "You bastard, you ruined my whole life!" and throw plates, teapots, cups at the wall so they shatter, and then it's just wow. It gets easier. It's just like in many Japanese companies at some point, when they started transforming their management, since it's quite difficult and not customary in Japanese culture to tell your boss directly what you don't like. So they used special rooms where you could take a baseball bat and really go at the mannequin of your boss. The boss doesn't know about it, you don't know about it, but you return to your workplace and you already feel better temporarily. So you're no longer sick, but you're not growing. If you stop at this stage, of course, you'll always be releasing tension. Fortunately, this won't get you anywhere. So what should you do? Restore your freedom of choice, friends. And then you have a chance to move on to the next stage. And the next final stage in working with feelings I call experiencing. Experiencing is the main goal of experiential psychotherapy. By the way, here in the description at this link, I will post, hopefully you'll find it interesting, the program for experiential psychotherapy. This is my own original program, which you can sign up for, attend, and deeply immerse yourself in what it really means to experience. Because in this video, I can only talk about it briefly. So, what does it mean to experience? To experience means to settle into what is happening in your life right now. At the moment when you feel sadness or joy, it's as if you settle into that state and not only feeling the emotion itself, but also observing what is happening more broadly, with your body, with your breathing, with what is happening in your interactions with others, and within the context of the entire event you are experiencing. Is it moving or has it come to a standstill? And at that moment, in the experience, if you pay close attention, you will notice that things start to move, that in fact life is changing, that your feeling, your experience begins to transform. In the experience, you cannot fight the feeling, you agree with it. That is, experiencing means total acceptance of what is happening, that it is normal. Are you angry? That's normal. Are you sick? Are you in pain? That's normal. Are you happy? That's normal. And joy is no better than anger, and tenderness is no better than pain. All of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, are important for our lives. And in experiencing, this becomes obvious. Pain stops being toxic, stops being poisonous. Shame stops performing its monstrous function, driving you into a corner, making you hide from other people, from yourself. Envy stops poisoning you by making you either put yourself down or devalue others, thinking that they only have something you want by some ridiculous accident. And you start to see what needs lie behind envy. You will then see that behind envy, there is a desire you haven't admitted to yourself for a long time. Behind the experience of pain are certain values and your personal boundaries. When you start to feel your anger, you begin to notice that someone is currently violating your boundaries and you want to restore them. Experiencing your rage right now is of course difficult, but with a therapist it is still possible. You will notice that in fact you don't actually want to destroy anyone. You want to be given the chance to be loved again. When you experience disgust, you begin to notice that in the current interaction you are in, there is some kind of excess. It's too much for you, perhaps even too much of something good, or even if it's just a little, it's so unpleasant that you want to get rid of it. This is a natural, normal feeling. Feelings and experiences start to talk to you, begin to give you some recommendations, advice and hints. They start to become a kind of roadmap, an algorithm for action. You begin to notice your desires and needs behind the feeling. The most important thing is your needs. Needs are more important than desires. Someday I'll record a separate video about this difference. And then you start to notice that as a result you come alive. Why? Because what was previously encapsulated within your feelings, like in a capsule, now all that vitality begins to expand outward into your choices, your sense of self, your body even start to breathe differently. What was it like before? In anxiety, in fear, it was as if you were contracting. In anger, you were also contracting. In the urge to attack someone, in shame, it was as if you were curling up. But in all these cases, whether the first, second, or third, you were spending energy on doing something destructive to yourself. But in experiencing, you allow everything to happen because you can't fight these feelings. You give permission for everything that needs to be, and you observe what happens next. You notice that your life begins to change. Now your energy is spent on deepening relationships, on restoring boundaries, on becoming aware of your desires and acting to fulfill them. You understand, right? This is so you can enrich and transform yourself, not to torment yourself. What used to hold you back and make you ill is now directed where it should be, toward happiness, growth, and all the other processes in your relationships. So ask yourself, at which stage of dealing with your feelings are you? Are you at the stage of ignoring? At the stage of acting out? At the stage of reacting? Or at the stage of experiencing? You can listen to the video again. And if that's not enough, browse this channel and watch some other new and interesting videos about crises, about feelings, about relationships. On this same channel, there is a whole big broadcast dedicated to the topic of feelings. Don't be shy, go ahead and watch it. I'm sure you'll find it useful. This was Igor Pogodin with you. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. That way you'll stay up to date with all the news. And if you share this video with your friends, maybe it would be useful to someone, and someone might feel emotional or some other important warm support from this video, from you who forwarded this video to them. Thank you for your attention, and we'll see each other again on this channel very, very soon. See you next time.